I want you to introduce yourself, but imagine aliens have invaded Earth.
All right.
And they have knocked on your door. And they say, "Who are you?" What do you say?
Zeep Zorpazat. I would say I am Big Man who does audio conversations with people who paint and make creative expression. I don't know why it's a caveman for some reason, but I would try to get it to the simplest thing.
No, we're gonna imagine that they have universal translators. Star Trek.
Universal translators. Then I am Rob Lee. I am the host of a podcast called The Truth in This Art. People seem to enjoy it. It's been around for 7 years, and really it's a storytelling archival project through the lens of arts, culture, and community. And it's a big passion project that's gone from Baltimore and beyond. So it's not just where we're at, where you're going to fucking take me to the ship, but it's, also international and hopefully interplanetary.
Most overrated vegetable.
This is a
vegetable slander.
It's broccoli. Yeah, I like broccolini more, but it's broccoli because I think it's readily available. People think adding broccoli to a plate serves as your vegetable serving. It has a really good publicist. It's a really good vegetable publicist, but it's only okay. I mean, it's like, oh, I don't have any vegetables. I don't really feel like putting any effort in. Let me just steam some broccoli and boom, here's a vegetable. I don't really care about it. It's only really good depending on how you season it. Like I've tried to roast it. It's not as good. I've put it in the air fryer. Not as good. It's just, you could just boil it and it's fine. It goes on your plate. Now, if, the only time I think it really works when it has something that's a good complement. So cheese and broccoli. Oh my gosh, delicious. Beef and broccoli. There are Timberlands named after that. So also great. But broccoli? Nah, no one wants it.
Okay, I didn't know how divisive this would be, but we're going to have follow-up conversations. I need to do some broccoli education.
Here's the thing. My partner's going to be she's going to be pumping fists in the air, like punching the air because she's like, yes, he hates broccoli as well. It's just like, no, you hate broccoli. I just think it's overrated.
Martin or living single?
This is going to be surprising for some folks. It's living single.
That was the correct answer.
I remember at one point, so during the history of the whole MTR podcast and then now where we're at Truth in This Art, there was a bunch of different guys who'd worked on the pod, and I had a co-host who he liked women of a larger carriage. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, yo, can we just redo the intro from Living Single? All of us dressed like the main players, because I just wanted an opportunity to say it's a 90s type of world and Dan likes black girls. I just wanted to do that. And no one rode that train with me. So yeah. So it's definitely that. Martin was good, but I think Martin got really inconsistent on the back end, where I think Living Single was pretty consistent throughout. And there's a fair amount of behind the scenes drama that became public with the Martin stuff. And I think just Living Single I think it didn't get its due, and it was very, very good.
Is there anything that's like a constant through line with everybody that you interview that's like a common thing that artists and other creatives have that's just like that you just recognize or just always see?
Yeah, that's a good question, and thank you for having me. Thank you for the question, actually.
Oh, no problem.
I'll say it's like I'll answer it in a very difficult way, right? I'll say the through line through everyone, right, is what is the actual story? What's the story beneath the work? What's the story beneath the creative or artistic contribution? I think that's the thing that I'm seeking. There's a bit more depth than you did a really good painting, you did a really good song or what have you. What's that depth that's there? And then I think sort of more with certain individuals, I find like, sometimes when I'm talking to chefs, there's a certain conversation that we're having, which is really great. Sometimes when I talk to photographers, it's just like, oh, let's, what's the perspective through your lens, literally and figuratively. And then when I talk to painters, it's just like, oh, okay, so what do you got? And the types of conversations differ, and I get certain tells out of it. Like maybe with let's say because of their style of work, they're going to be looking at all of these different intangibles that are there. Like sometimes when I'm talking to photographers, because their work has light and composition and things of that in nature, they are maybe approaching the conversation in a deeper way. Or if I'm talking to a chef, I may have a conversation with them that has parallels to a conversation I may have with a musician. There's usually different types of overlap that happens. And I love talking with someone who has like multiple things that they care about, but they're perhaps really famous or noteworthy for one thing. Like, there's an artist that I'm friends with, actually, DC based. You may know them, Xenia Gray.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and she's a great figurative painter and all that good stuff. But then it's just like, I was a comedian for a while and I was an actor. It's like, hold up, run that back. And so I didn't know that. Literally, and having that extra level, right? Yeah. You can joke with that person because they're not taking themselves too seriously, but also it's a shorthand. They're comedians, so they're going to get the offhand, or they come with a comedic sensibility, so they'll get that offhand thing, and that all roots back to, did you get who the person was, the humanity within their story?
So I remember like some early conversations. You huge on movies and film, man. So anything surprised you this year, or like I guess in the last 2 years, film wise, that kind of stimulated your mind in a kind of crazy way?
Yeah, I'll say this. I like when Black folk come together for movies. I'm just going to be very direct about that. And I felt that with some of the weird dialogue around Sinners early on, it's not going to make its money back, and then it just kind of breaks several records, but then it's kind of deprecated or what have you. I was like, is there a racist AI writing this? Like, what's happening? Like, it's doing very well. I think that movie was very, very, very good. I've seen it twice. Generally, I'm really good at retaining a movie. So I don't really have to see it multiple times. Let's say if I'm watching it for like a film review or something, which I've been negligent in doing, but if I watch it for a film review, I may watch it a couple of times, but I retain it. And I went to see Sinners twice last year. Once it initially came out and enjoyed it. And then the second time I rewatched it in IMAX, and it was a whole different experience. And just really appreciating some of the things that were done there and some of the things that really worked. And I think sort of the discourse, film discourse, and the experience of seeing film, I think that's the thing that sits out. Like, you know how it goes. You go to a movie, you see it with essentially your people. And people are getting some of the end jokes. It's a movie for Black people. Let's just, keep it a buck. Yeah. And I think it became something that made a lot of money, that was popular, and it kind of drove a few things culturally, and it was part of the dialogue through memes and social. And it did that on its sort of own merits, like Ryan Coogler and company, they made a swing and they swung for it. And I think it's one of those things of seeing one's creativity and one saying, look, I'm about on myself. And, I understand where some people had some criticism about the sort of the music sequence in it, the music over the years. But it's like, and I think I said this when I watched it. When I rewatched it, I was like, he earned that. I was like, you did this movie, and people accused it of all of these other things that are not even in there. I was like, why are there Asian people? I remember I had that thought initially. I was like, what's happening here? And I was like, are we like pushing for some diversity thing? And then it's like, no, I well researched this. This was part of the culture down there, and it's part of Mississippi. I was like, then he earned it. I was like, he absolutely earned it. And then, of course, I don't know if you run into this because you have a sibling, right? Or a couple of siblings.
Yeah, I got a brother and sister. Yep.
I have a younger brother and an older sister and an older brother, but me and my younger brother are closest, and so inevitably, it's like, all right, so you stack or you smoke, And my brother was like, "You're just both." I was like, "What do you mean?" And I was just like, "You might be right. You might be right."
Yeah, man. There's something about like pure joy that I appreciate it. I don't got to be into it. If
Yeah.
I see somebody that really like just has that kind of glee on their face because they're experience. I went to a live wrestling event. I was still working at the radio station in Philly, and we had free tickets to not only a WWE show, but it was like a award show at the same time. It was like one of their award joints at the same time. And it was insane, man. It was one of the most beautiful experiences I had in my life. I have never been up to that point to a live wrestling joint uh because we weren't going to ECW. That was just too extreme. Man, it was like in the very part of the PA.
It was. Here's the
Yeah.
thing. The first live show I went to as an adult was actually at the ECW arena. I
Mhm.
went up with my buddy Greg. This is the first time he and I met. We were taking a bus up to go to an indie show
Mhm.
at the ECW arena. We've never met each other before. So I was like, I hope this dude isn't weird because we're
Yeah.
sharing a room. The whole thing was wild. And I went to AJ Styles, I think his last match on the Indies, and Shinsuke Nakamura's last match, and both of them were at ECW Arena. I think this was 2014, 2015. And Philly has always been, I think I've gone to more wrestling shows in Philly than anywhere else.
Man, ECW needs a museum, man. That was such a wild organization, man.
Yes. It was an era too. It was just like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? Someone's
Yeah,
on fire right now? I
it came
got it.
on channel for us in Philly, channel 48 at a weird time at night. Us kids would find it. It was like on a weird station. You had to like movie antennas around if you had a bad TV, and just to find ECW because it was on a weird time on a weird channel. Uh, but it was like public access, like just crazy ass wrestling, man. So I just, I like when I go back and watch clips, I get that same kind of smile on my face because I remember it just takes you right back to my childhood. I remember being a kid, just fully enjoying this stuff, man. So
That's tight.
yeah,
That's
man.
it's definitely a good experience. And then watching some of the stuff that I'm watching now,
Mhm.
in the through line for watching I've been watching Masawa matches from All
Mhm.
Japan Pro Wrestling, and that was born out of me listening to a podcast about his life.
Yeah,
And I was just like, let me look at this dude's like best of and some of his matches and just falling in love with it in a different way. And
yeah,
when I'm at that sort of, so this part of the year, beginning of the year, it's sort of that the temperatures are crazy. It
mhm.
gets dark earlier, and then I'm getting a year older. It's like all of these losses for me. So it's a little
Yeah,
bit of the depressive period. And what pulls me out of that depressive period is watching like just something that brings me that joy you were referencing.
yeah.
And watching old wrestling, discovering something that's old, but discovering it for the first time, it's new. Discovery is really cool.
No, man. So I would say me be on the other side of it, man. Like I've had exhibits where I've done some art pieces when people, or I've done exhibit there, and then people who are just really enjoying it will like come up to me and like with a smile on their face, and like I'm like, yeah, and I say no, they don't, they like, I won't bother you. I'm like, yeah, I say you're not bothering me. I'm like, yeah, I want to hear that you enjoy it, man. Like if I put that smile on your face, that feels good. To like I know that you're really enjoying this because the work is not in vain. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uh, so absolutely, man.
No, it's good. And when I do these podcasts and all of that stuff, and people will see me and they'll chit chat with me, chop it up with me, and it's like, yes, let's do it. And I'm not trying to speak for a community and not be of the community. Like,
Yeah.
it's that sequence in the Diddy documentary, right?
Mhm.
Where before he's going getting arrested, he's going to see the people and be around the people. And then he says something like, I've been around too many people. I need to take the shower. I need to get all of this off of me. That just rung in a certain way for me. And it's just like, I never want to be attached to something in that way of
Yeah.
not all of the stuff that he did or he's accused of and all of that, but sort of being kind of fake of the people and just popping out to get whatever those kudos are, but really being around
Yeah.
and having genuine connections with people. And I work better, I think, in one-to-one or small groups because it feels more authentic. When there's a group
Right.
opportunity or a photo shoot, or it's like, I'd rather be in the background. I'd rather be having a coffee one-to-one with somebody.
In the art world, man, like just the whole atmosphere, uh, it's good to lock in with like good people, man, because a lot of people are not. So.
I agree.
Yeah.
110%. You know, I think it's go, go, go. It's hustle, hustle, hustle. And it's not enough time to sit there and really absorb and really sit with something. And someone may ask you, what do you think about this work? What do you think about this art? What do you think about whatever the thing is that is presented to you?
Yeah.
And you need to have this answer almost
Yeah.
immediately. But it's like, I might need a little time to sit with this. Like,
Right.
get back to me in an hour, get back to me in a week. And
Yeah.
I think we're pushed to do that all the time now, whether it be in social interactions. Does this person suck? I'm not sure yet. Or is this
Right.
person cool? I'm not sure yet. I don't know. This
Right.
was a weird interaction, or this was a cool interaction, and I would like to continue. And what I do and the people that I have the best conversations and connections with is based in curiosity.
Right.
Eventually you kind of get a lesson. It's like, all right, this is this, or this is not this, but you can't just base that on really quick and instantaneous stuff. That's just not how the world works.
Okay, you don't want me here, well, F you, and then we'll go where I'm wanted. And that is this type of city, and hence going back to why we should be grateful to live here. Again, given everything that's going on, Amy can do something like that here. You can do what you do here and be a voice and a presence, and that's very powerful.
And thank you. It's I actually went to see that show. It was great.
It's on my list. I've yet to see it, and I feel like I have to see it very soon.
Making it a point to go to support and to be there, and kind of going back to I think adding a bit more texture to maybe what I was getting at, the community piece. I think when the result happened almost a year ago of Agent Orange being back in the office. That was on my birthday, so it's just like one of those things of like, oh, this is where we're at. And just kind of thinking through maybe a stoicism, maybe a how do I, and then perhaps how do people who encounter me, how can we like navigate through this, to the degree in which we can. There are certain things that it's going to be messier. They're doing sort of whatever they're doing, the lawlessness, as you were touching on earlier. But as far as the navigating of it, because being under stress, the cortisol builds, all of those things, and being under this constant dysfunction, it's not good for us from a health or psychological standpoint, I would imagine. And a certain degree of stoicism of like, almost expect the worst. And then if it falls, somewhat below the worst, it's like, all right, cool. Am I getting ice cream later? What am I doing? Am I still like kind of thinking about those different things? And, I think from that standpoint of like, we made the same mistake twice. And just kind of thinking about it from that way. So being exposed to it. And I may have said this before, just seeing the impact of podcasting, the medium that I'm in, being a part of kind of opening that door to bring him back, I had feelings around that. And I was thinking like, all right, what can I do through sort of this podcast thing? And that's how I started approaching that in, the class I was teaching the last 2 years and will be teaching like this year, and just have some ethics. It's, as we learn, when it's online and there's no law around it or no ethics, no criteria around it, then whatever's the worst thing that can happen, that's the thing they're going to choose.
You mentioned this musical artist you're kind of being drawn to now. Actually, my question on this wonderful little Post-it note I made earlier to you was going to be like, what art form have you been gravitating toward recently, whether it's more music or visual art or books? Going to the theater much?
Well, I did get some tickets for a play in a few weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. Ironically, right? Like, I'm not a big podcast listener. So I recently have been gravitating in it, and by recently, over the last probably month and a half, I've really, dove in on some audio dramas. So Spotify, and they're what they are. I saw that the whole library from these old dramas from the 30s and 40s are on there from CBS. Their whole platform is on there. So these old hard-boiled detective like shows, there's like 50 episodes of this one joint called Box 13. The lead guy, he's a writer and he will help solve people's problems. He's just looking for adventure, and which ultimately will turn up in the books that he writes. And I've gone through, for the last month, I've gone through they're only 26 minutes. I've gone through like each episode and I was like, yeah, this is the one where he does this. And another one that I've been listening to is called the 10 Bell podcast, but I'm really caught on this one episode about this Japanese pro wrestler named Mitsuharu Misawa. And whenever I'm in this sort of stage of the seasonal, all of that, I'm like, wrestling, Japanese pro wrestling, here we go. And, I get a lot of joy out of that. And I've been diving in and watching some of his old matches. He has a really, really, really tragic ending. He actually dies in the ring during a match. And kind of knowing that, I knew about that before I saw any of his matches. So this is where I was like, oh, I already know the tragic ending. And now going back through his catalog and appreciating pretty much ultimately what he gave his life for, and that both came through podcasts.
I don't know what I'm waiting for, but I don't know about you, but like I'm waiting just like for a hero. So, like I'm just like, come on, like who's gonna come save us? What is happening? Like where's the Superman? Where's the Batman? Where's the spotlight in the sky?
Look.
I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know. Who's our superhero?
I'm
Like,
waiting for Johnny Five with his AI going. I'm just waiting for Johnny Five to pop up and like, yo, we got you. Johnny Five feels like human and he jumps in the air. I think, one of the things you were touching on, I think it relates to this term because I'm really diving into my philosophy. I've earned I earned a nickname so far this year and something in this new idea I'm playing with. One, I'm a fake philosopher, or a philosopher. But the idea is algorithmic relationships. I think one of the things from previous generations that they were crushing it, they weren't letting these sort of online, these sort of weird, you didn't like this post, or you didn't see this post, these sort of communication barriers get in the way. People were being friends. People had social clubs. People were spending time with each other. We want these things that feel like they're easy. And I think that's one of the ways that we get out of it. The algorithmic nature of it, you get online, you see everything that's refined and polished to exactly what you like. There's no room for discovery there. So I can see that affecting art. I can see that affecting how we socialize and so on. And I think having this notion of we don't want something that's hard or something that's earned, that has a direct impact on the relationships that we're having. I'm protecting my peace. This isn't serving me, whatever du jour. And sometimes spending time with people, sometimes having friendships, sometimes different relationships can be very, they can be a burden sometimes, not like a burden, but they can be very inconvenient. Like I travel to see some of my friends and I maintain it as a bit. I have 1.33 friends. I always say that because I think it's funny.
Sorry.
but it's a thing. And I find that I'll go travel. I'll make that extra time and fit it in as a person that's pretty busy. And I find that a lot of other people haven't gotten that same lesson. Mm-hmm. And, let's take the shot for the gram and make sure that's up there to show that we spent time together. I'd rather just like, let's get a coffee and do something low key.
When I think about the movie experience, I really miss that. I think Barbie might have been the last one I saw in the theater that I really enjoyed. Like I'm trying to think if I saw anything else that wasn't like a classic or a revival, because now that's really just what I go to see.
It was probably Sinners for me. I saw it twice last year.
I've been meaning to see that. I've heard it's so good and I haven't seen it yet.
I was in early. I saw it the first time, but the second time that I saw it, I appreciated it that much more. I'm notorious for not seeing movies twice. It'll be like 5 or 6 years between the second watch. And the second time I watched it, I went to Georgetown and watched it in IMAX, and I was like, this is now a upper experience. And I was like, yeah, it's as good. It might even have grown like an extra half a point for me. That was a very, very good film. Overhyped in some regards, just sort of the response, I think Vanity Fair's sort of dragging of the movie or trying to drag the movie was very weird. And I think that added to some more positive or amplified discourse. But the movie is deserving of sort of the accolades and the attention that it got. And so I'll go to see, but like you, if there's a revival, let me get that. Let me see that. Like, I think I went to see the revival for Mortal Kombat last year, the 1995 one. I was like, yes, test your might.
How then do I decide what is important? What is being decided for me that is important? But also, what if we just came together and we're like, hey, screw all this. Let's just hang out. And this is what's important. I mean, that doesn't mean we're turning a blind eye to the world and situations, but maybe we can figure out how to deal with those situations when we come together and we don't have to do like a photo op for it.
I think if we're almost in a counterculture sense. So like, I have this idea that we're seeing more and more, not even an idea, it's just an observation. We're seeing more and more of sort of this state-sponsored slop that's being masqueraded as news. And I think people are like kind of waking up to it and perhaps I think go even deeper, root cause that joint. Like, you know, there shouldn't be news all the time. There shouldn't be like sports news all the something like ESPN, while I enjoy it, should not exist. And you know, we recently had John Harbaugh fired from the Ravens, and it's just in the feed, just going there, and it's just like that's cool, okay. Oh, you have a take on it. Oh, you have a take. Oh, your take is the same as that take, but you're saying it, and it's just like there's no news, there's no information. It's funny, like when we see some of the local news and we get to the lighter set, it's like, oh, and a cat was up a tree, and it's like that's not a news story. And I think it's a desperation that's there. I'm very sensitive to seeing things that just come off as insecurity and desperation. And I see it all the time in sort of these media outlets to justify traffic and clicks and views. And what was the thing? The nickname, I forgot to mention that. The nickname that I've earned is Rose Gold Rob, which is great.
And I should let you know, I got rid of all my subscriptions. Like I don't have a subscription to any film, which I know is not great because I want to support my fellow artists. You know, I'm like, I want to do all these things, but I'm also stubborn. This is the contrarian Aquarian in me. This is the stubbornness just reigning supreme where I'm like, no, my principles are like, I cannot contribute to like Netflix anymore, et cetera, because just of how they're treating the like what was and the artist platform, kind of like Spotify too, in a way, with the artists and treatment. And I know those are all separate discussions, but that's a struggle for me, honestly. I don't like, I'm not trying to burn bridges or sow, you know, seeds of wrath or whatever, but I don't know. It's a weird place for me.
I think what I did was try to lower it, and I actively steal. Like, all right, how can I go on a horrent or urent or something that rhymes with that other word and put that VPN on and just get the content that I need, but also not be part of it in that way. And I think
like the famous book, Steal Like an Artist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it is a good point to reassess, and I would share that with anyone, to reassess, what your involvement is and just know why you're doing it and know what you're doing and have something that you're standing on. It may be, one of those things where until we get these things sorted out socially, until we get these things sorted out from how we're appreciating, artists and how we're compensating artists and appreciating sort of their art, their contributions, their work, then I need to bow out for now. And I think that's something. And sort of one of the last things I'll say in that regard is I like when people drag these companies for the nonsense that they do. So like, I know a lot of people like that show, and I watch it, and I enjoy it. Fallout, they're talking about the recap for Fallout was literally just an AI composite of different clips from the first season. And it just got characters wrong. It got sort of what their motivations are wrong. So it's a good guy positioned as a bad guy. And they had to take it down because he was getting dragged online because it was bunk that they put out there. And it's just like, hire someone to just edit it.
But that would cost money.
They're paying them peanuts as it is, just, but it is that. And I get very cautious. There's hundreds of hours of me yapping. I probably said every word that I know and some words that I have forgotten over the years, over this time. And if someone's like, I'm going to do an AI Rob when eventually I, stop doing this or what have you, there is sort of that, but the engine, the battery, or whatever it is, the feeling, as you were touching on earlier, that's not going to be in it. And I've been saying in some of the early interviews for this season, I'm your host, Rob Lee, accept no substitutes. Thank you for listening to The Truth in This Art. This podcast is executive produced by Rob Lee and hosted by Rob Lee. This podcast is produced by Daniel Alexis. Original music provided by Daniel Alexis. Additional music provided by Chipzard and Tay Trace Sace. This podcast is edited by Daniel Alexis, and show notes are provided by Rob Lee and Transistor Media. This podcast is a podcast under Contrarian Aquarian Media Productions. Photos provided by Vicente Martin and guest photos provided by the guest unless otherwise noted and credited. Lastly, this podcast is supported in part by Fractured Atlas. If you want to support this podcast, head on over in the show notes to fracturedatlas.org. Be sure to follow The Truth in This Art wherever you get your podcasts and on social at Blue Sky, Instagram, and hit up our shop on Redbubble. There are some t-shirts on there from The Truth in This Art. So that's that. Thanks again for listening.